Hi pals, I hope that you're doing so well today. We have an exciting video because we are doing our first monthly reading wrap-up of the year. Actually, the first monthly reading wrap-up of this entire channel, because as we know, I just started this last month and I have not done one of these yet. So hi, new content alert to you guys. So welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. If you didn't know, most of you do know because this is mostly my close friends and family who are on this and watching me. And hey, love you guys. Thanks for watching. Today we're going to be going through the 13 books that I read in January. It is still currently January. It is the 31st. And I do have one book that I think I may finish tonight. But honestly, at this point, I'm gonna count it next month because it doesn't come out until March anyway, so it might be better for me to just push it off. We're gonna go in chronological order because that just kind of flows better with my brain. If I tried to go out of order, I would get so messed up and I would start like confusing plots just because my brain works very linearly. So we're gonna talk about the 13 books that I read this month. I've said that like 5 times already. Let's just go ahead and jump into the first book that I read this month. I started it off with a sizzling dud. I'm talking 1 star, almost DNF'd it actually, because it made me feel some type of way when I was reading it. And that type of way would be literally gross out, disgusted, wanting to crawl on my body. We're talking bugs crawling on my skin level of want to be outside of my brain space listening to this book. I got an audiobook arc of My Time to Stand by Gypsy-Rose Blanchard. That would indeed be the Gypsy-Rose, you know, the one that just got out of jail like last year for her part in the murdering of her mother. I honestly picked this book out and requested it. I did that on my own free will. I did listen to it of my own free will, and it was a mistake. I did it because I was nosy. I did it for the plot. I did it because I wanted to know what she had to say. It has a very unsuspecting cover of her standing up, which is a hilarious title for her. My Time to Stand is funny. I will give her that. That shit's hilarious that she made that her title. If you know anything about Gypsy-Rose Blanchard, she was actually Munchausened by proxy by her mother for like all of her childhood. Her mother lied to the doctors, lied to her, force-fed her medicine that she didn't need, so that she had all these things wrong with her, said she had like leukemia, and the doctors literally just believed her. She gypped everyone. She gyp being Gypsy-Rose. And in the end, her control drove Gypsy to finding her boyfriend online who would eventually plot and murder her mother. I thought we were going to be getting a cozy memoir of her looking back at her mistakes, feeling remorseful, talking about her life and all the fun things that she has to come. No. We get a chronological look at her life in which she talks about all the horrible things that happened to her, that is her story to tell, all the horrible things that happened to her, but then also the build up and then the gory in detail version of her mother's murder. Like, you get it all. She does not seem very remorseful at all, and it kind of made me sick. Like, it made me feel so like bummed out for humanity. I did not feel uplifted. I did not feel like the way that a memoir normally makes you feel is that they look back at their life and they talk about their mistakes and they talk about the things that like made them them and how they learned from it and they did better. But this memoir did not feel like that. It was really sporadic in terms of like up, down emotions. And I mean, it felt like a diary. A very damning diary. I feel like this should not have been a memoir. It should have been a true crime novel, because that is how in detailed we get. Like, if you want the tea, if you want to be nosy, if you want to know about what happened on like literally the plotting and then execution of her mother's death, you're gonna get it. And you're gonna get it in the audiobook from her own voice, like from her telling you. And it is crazy to listen to. And it truly made me sick. And the book honestly really shifted my perspective of Gypsy Rose in a negative light. Like, I thought that she was funny online. Like, I was getting the stuff fed to me. It was coming across my desk, so to say, on social media. This made me want to block her on all social media because it just felt like so gross. It would truly be studied by true crime philosophers for years to come. So that's My Time to Stand by Gypsy Rose Blanchard. The second book that I read, a lot of these are going to be ARCs. That would be advanced reader copies. And if they are not released yet, I will put the day that they release. I'm pretty sure that most of these have released by now. But the second one that I read this month was Where the Darkness Goes by kiersten modglin. I think it might actually be the latter. This is a book about a girl who moves away from the small town that she grew up in. While she was a teenager in this small town, there was a serial killer going around and he was killing mother-daughter pairs. They never found the person that was doing it. Very strange. She moves away and she comes back later in life, and there's another serial killer out and he has killed her high school best friend. So she has to move into her brother's house, and at her brother's house, her ex-boyfriend lives there. And this is like a romantic suspense thriller. It is actually like the most spicy, most romantic thriller that I've ever read. Really threw me for a loop, honestly. So I had read one of Kiersten's other books called Hemlock, and that one was like a romantic thriller also. But this one, Where the Darkness Goes, had spice. It had like actual P to V. So I enjoyed it. That being said, I enjoyed it because I like a smutty book. Okay? Sue me. What are you gonna do? Sue me. I like a smutty book. I found that the two main characters, they had believable chemistry, which I always enjoy. I like when characters actually seem like they could be together and not that they're going to literally break up or get a divorce or hate each other in 10 years. Because one of my favorite videos that another booktuber, Newly Nova Lexi, does on YouTube, and I think on TikTok mostly, it was a series I saw on TikTok where she was doing like couples in books who are going to end up getting divorced, like a scale. And honestly, I agree with a lot of her thoughts on those, but I think that this couple, they would actually stay together because this is a second chance romance. This is a mystery thriller. This is a brother's best friend kind of love. This is a small town romance. I thought that the mystery suspense plot was a little weaker, but I think that this one is supposed to be more romance forward. So I did enjoy that aspect of it, and I did give it, I think, 3.5 stars. No, I gave it 4. I gave it 4 stars, which I think is good. It has like 2,600 ratings on Goodreads, sitting at 3.9. So I think I'm right with the other people on that. The third book that I read this month was a cozy mystery book, and that one is Pomona Afton Can So Solve a Murder. This is a book about a girl who is basically like Paris Hilton and Alexis from Schitt's Creek mixed together. So she is an heiress of I think they are like a hotel family, or they have a lot of money and they own a hotel. I don't really know exactly where their money comes from, but there is a big debacle and a societal fall from grace when her grandmother is bewilderingly, suspiciously killed. And in her grandmother's will, there's a clause that says if she's murdered, money cannot be dispersed to my heirs. So Pomona sets out to find the person who killed her grandma because she is literally riches to rags. Like, she has 1000% decreased in her living. She cannot live like this. She's used to literally having like people who do everything for her. She's never worked before. She literally has never cooked anything in her entire life. So she meets up with a old acquaintance from her childhood, and they work together to find the person who killed her grandma. Really enjoyed it. Very fast moving, very cozy, low stakes. Obviously not low stakes because her entire life is on the line, but it's not like suspenseful in that kind of way because it's a cozy mystery. I gave it 3.5 stars, rounded it up to 4 because, as we know, we cannot do half stars on Goodreads. So 3.5 stars solidly. The thing that I didn't like about this book is that the scene changing, like from one place to another, literally from one paragraph to the next paragraph, she would be like doing something in her kitchen, and then the next paragraph she's like at a park or at a cafe or just somewhere else, and there's like no indication that she was leaving. Just all of a sudden she's teleported into a new place. So that, I did not love that about this book. And also, like, a cozy mystery is just honestly never, can't say never, most likely will not ever get a 5-star from me, just because there's not the same amount of emotional payoff that I need normally to rate something 5 stars. So I think that a 3.5 rounded up to 4 is like a very solid book. So that's Pomona Afton. I think it's Afton, Can So Solve a Murder. It was fun. And the character, she really was like Alexis from Schitt's Creek, who actually goes riches to rags. So it very similar in terms of being silly and goofy and like not knowing how to do stuff. But there's some character growth and development. So I did like it. So the next book that I got, another arc, it was called The Answer Is No by Fredrik Backman. He's a Swedish author, and a lot of his works are being translated into English because he's just like a fun writer. I've never read anything else by him. This was actually my toe dip into Fredrik Backman's writing, and it was a novella, so it was very short. Loved it. Like, absolutely ate it up, loved it. I think I gave it 4 stars. And I did, and it was so fun. It was charming, it was funny. It is about a guy who is kind of, well, not kind of, he is an introvert, and he lives in this apartment complex where he never talks to anyone. The answer is no. He does not want to talk to his neighbors. He does not want to talk to the takeout people. He does not want to leave his house. He wants to stay in and play video games, which is honestly very fair because I want to stay in and read. So I understand where he's coming from. Somehow he gets sucked into the apartment complex drama, and he becomes like the main focus of this like HOA apartment drama that's happening, and it's just so funny. Like, it's very like cozy. I would say another cozy book, but in a different way, because it was a mystery sort of, but you really didn't care about solving it. It was more about like the characters themselves and what was going on with the characters. So I just thought it was really fun, and I think that the way that Lucas, the main character, looked at life was so refreshing. Like, he was like, I don't need these people, I just need myself, and I'm happy with what I have. And that's just something that is so hard really for us as a society to kind of get along with, because we always want what's new, we always want to go out, we always want the next thing, we always want this, we always want that, when like we should just maybe sit in our house sometimes. I did enjoy the book. It was fun, and solid 4 stars. It was really quick. I think it's available, actually. I think he wrote it, or that they translated it for Amazon Prime, so it's on Amazon Prime, and I would recommend it if you have Amazon Prime. The next book I got, I requested on NetGalley because I was feeling like a scholar. I wanted to be different. I wanted to I wanted to get outside. I'm trying to read a little bit differently. I'm trying to read a little bit more genre diversely, because I tend to stick mostly to romantasy, fantasy, romance, mystery. Like, that's kind of my spectrum of books. So I'm trying to get outside of that. I'm trying to become more well-read. As they say, I want to read some classics, and I decided, this is not a classic, but I decided to read this historical fiction book that was, it's called Bronstein in the Bronx by Robert Littell. And let me tell you, I don't even know how to talk about this book in a way that will do it justice, because I am not well knowledge in this time era or in this person that this is about. So this is a book set in like World War I think, like 1917 or something. I don't even know when it was set. And it is about a guy who was exiled out of Serbia. He goes by Lev Bronstein when he moves to America for like 10 weeks. I think he's exiled to America, and then he goes to Russia, and he is actually Leon Trotsky, and he is a person who was like one of the main people in the Bolshevik Revolution. And all these things may mean nothing to you, because they meant nothing to me until I read this book. But it was so wildly entertaining. Like, this guy, he had some interesting ideas, and he had an interesting life while he was in America for the short time that he was in New York, and it was just really fun. I think the writing was really compelling, and there were times where I was like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm just fastened in for the ride. Like, I'm just sat here reading this book just thinking, what the fuck is going on? I have no idea. Because that's not an area of history that I know a lot about. I mean, like, the US school system really failed me in terms of being well-rounded, and even like world history, even like US history. Like, it's just not something that I know a lot about. before like World War II. World War II is where things start to really cook in my mind and I know kind of what's going on. But this time, like 1918 or whenever this was happening, no idea. So I gave this 4 stars. I've given a lot of these books 4 stars, I've realized. I gave this 4 stars because I think that if I knew more about this area of history, it would have been an even like higher rated book. But since I don't know a lot about this area of history, I cannot discount the writer for my lack of education. So that was Bronstein in the Bronx. I think it was fun. I would read more books by him. I would read more books actually that are like historical fiction if they're written like this. It isn't like reading a textbook. It's written in a way that is like, I could actually sit down and read this, which is hard for me sometimes. So enjoyed that. The next book that I read, girl, it was so good. It was Flirting with Disaster by Naina Kumar. This is her 2nd book ever. Her first book debuted last year. This is her 2nd book, and I gave it 5 stars because I was 2 weeks into 2025, and this 5-star book landed directly on my doorstep. It came out last month, and that's why I reviewed it, and it literally was so good. I kicked my feet. I giggled. I gasped mini gasps. No, I gasped mini gasps. And I really had so much fun with it. Nikhil and Meena are the main characters, and this is a second chance romance. This is about 2 people who actually had like a crazy night in Vegas, and when they were like very early dating, and they ended up getting married in Vegas, and their marriage only lasted like I think a year before they split, and literally did not talk to each other again for like 7 years or 6 years. I'm not quite sure exactly how long it was, but they have not spoken to each other in like 6 years. And she goes back to like Houston, I think is where this is set, because she needs to get a divorce. She has gotten into another relationship. She wants to marry or get engaged to the guy that she's with right now. So she goes to Houston to finalize this divorce because he won't talk to her. He will not sign the papers. And she gets there and there's a hurricane coming. Because forced proximity, there's a hurricane coming. So of course she has to stay with her husband and try to get him to sign the divorce papers, and you know, romance ensues. So I loved Flirting with Disaster. It was so much fun. So good. I loved it. Flirting with Disaster. I gave it 5 stars and I stand by it still. The next book that I read, another romance book. I borrowed this from my friend Allison, so I don't have it on me anymore because I already gave it back to her. The Striker by Anna Huang. I've been wanting to read this one since it came out, but I've been putting it off. 1, because I didn't want to buy it. My friend bought it and let me borrow it. And 2, because it was like literally like 600 pages or 500 pages. It was so long. Why is a romance book that long? They should not be. This might have been like her first sports romance. This was a soccer ex-ballerina romance, and it was fun. I read it very quickly, even though it was super long. I just didn't have anything to do that day. So I read the entire day, the book from cover to cover, and I was like into it. I felt like it should have been about 150 pages shorter. I think that it kind of extended out the plot and the things that were happening for no reason, but overall I did enjoy it. I think I gave it a 4.5, or I would have given it like a 4.25, but I rounded it down to 4 stars just because it was kind of long-winded for no reason. This is about a girl who's a ballerina. She had a tragic accident, and so she cannot ballet the way she used to ballet. So now she's a teacher at a ballet studio, and her brother is a star soccer player. Her brother is a star soccer player on like one of those like giant soccer teams in the UK. I don't know a lot about soccer, football, they call it football in this. Anyways, her brother is a giant star on this soccer team, and the main male character is like on her brother's team, but they're rivals. The brother and the main character have to take ballet lessons with our main girl because they keep fighting with each other, and in order to get them to work together, the coach says, you two go take ballet lessons together to get along. So that is kind of what happens. And so it's like a forbidden love, brothers rival, basically. They're definitely not besties. However, I did like it. That was The Striker. There's supposed to be more books in that series. It says it's The Gods of the Game #1, so that implies there's going to be more in that series. The next book that I read, highly anticipated by me And basically the entire world, Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I did indeed get the special edition version from Amazon. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I love the Fourth Wing series. Okay, I say that, but every book I get a little bit more and more disappointed because I loved Fourth Wing. Knocked my freaking socks off, dude. Iron Flame, my sock might have rolled down a little bit. Onyx Storm, it's like my sock rolled down while I had shoes on, and you know the feeling when your sock is down in your tennis shoe and you feel like you're gonna kill yourself? That's how I felt in the last 75 pages of Onyx Storm. I felt like I was about to obliterate. I was so angry. I was mad, dang it. And there's a lot of mixed reviews about Onyx Storm. People expected more. People thought, oh, this is the perfect amount because it's book 3 of 5 books, so there has to be filler. There has to be things that you're gonna read it and you're gonna look back on the 5th book and be like, that's why that happened. Girl, shut up. First of all, shut up. Because why did I leave this book with more questions than I had answers? Why did we leave this book in no better of a position than we did in Iron Flame? So as you can tell, I'm disappointed. Not mad, just disappointed.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
I gave it 3 stars. I think I gave Iron Flame 3.5 stars, and then I gave Fourth Wing 4.5 stars. So we're just going down, down, down. I hope that in 5 billion years, when book 4 comes out, we can come back up. But for right now, we're at the average mark with a 3-star because I was just really sad. I was really rocking with it. The stuff that people didn't like was the beginning, like the first 2/3. There was a lot of world building happening. There was visiting new places and kind of being diplomatic, and people were not rocking with that. I was on the ship. I was on the dragon. I was riding my dragon right there with them. I was on the expeditions that they were on, loving it, living it. And then we get to the last 75 pages, and you know, the last usually 100 pages of any fantasy book is going to be like fast paced, things are happening, it's so quick, and oh my gosh, I can barely keep up. That's how I felt about the last 2 chapters. And then the last 2 chapters really peed me off. Like, I was so mad when I read those chapters. I cannot go into it because I'm not doing spoilers in this one, but I'm just gonna say I am just kind of disappointed, really. I expected more, and I was overpromised, underdelivered. Unfortunately for Onyx Storm, I was reading a book sent directly down from heaven to earth by God at the same time. So that could be some of the reason why Onyx Storm is getting so much flack from me, because at the same time I was reading Babylonia by Costanza Casati. Let me tell you about motherfucking Babylonia by Costanza Casati. This book is out of its fucking mind. It is a masterpiece. It is a work of art. I read this book 1 week ago. I cannot stop thinking about it. It's on my mind every hour of every day. I think about something in this book. It is so beautiful. It is so lyrical. It was so compelling. The story is crazy. There's no way that I can describe this book to you in a way that would do it justice, to just like literally how beautiful and profound this book is. So I just have to read you what the blurb of it says, because I cannot compel you to read it using my own words. So this book follows Semiramis, and she is the only female ruler to ever rise to power in the Assyrian Empire. When kings fall, queens rise. Nothing about Semiramis' upbringing could have foretold her legacy or the power she would come to wield. A female ruler, once an orphan, raised on the outskirts of an empire, certainly no one in ancient Assyria would have bent to her command willingly. Semiramis was a woman who knew that she wanted power, and she knew that she would have to claim it. There were whispers about her fame in Mesopotamian myth. Semiramis, she was a queen, an ambitious warrior, and a commander whose reputation reaches the majestic proportions of Alexander the Great. Historical record, on the other hand, falls eerily quiet. They don't talk about her. In this second book by Costanza Casati, she weaves myth and ancient history together to give Semiramis a voice, charting her captivating ascent to the throne that no one promised her. This is a dazzling book that will transport your readers to the heart of Assyrian Empire and a world long gone. And this book is about a common woman, the governor she married, and the king who loved them both. Welcome to the empire of gods and men, and one queen destined to rule them all. I cannot even describe to you in detail how beautiful this book is. It is more lyrical. It is definitely like a heavier read. So if you don't like books like Circe or Circe by Madeline Miller or Song of Achilles or any like Natalie Haynes books that are more like mythological retellings that are like very lyrical, I would not suggest this book to you because it is just, it's very lyrical in terms of its writing. And I always thought, even when I did my TBR for this year, I said I didn't like books that were lyrical. After reading this, I will read any book that this woman puts out. I will literally read any single book that she puts out. It is beautiful. I could talk about it forever. It is like, there's twists, there's turns, there's like a major betrayal. If you don't like lyrical writing, if you don't like the historical fiction, I would not suggest this to you. But if you want a beautiful look at love and betrayal and power, this book goes crazy. Babylonia by Costanza Casati. I could do a whole video on just this book. On to the next book I read this month. That would be Spies Don't Fall for Their Asset by Meg Easton. This was a romance book I started reading. I'm on a reading romance kick right now for Valentine's Day. So I started reading some romance book arcs that I had sitting in my NetGalley. This one was meh. It was a clean romance. I did not know that when I started reading it. It might have said it in the description, but I don't like read the whole description sometimes. I think it was at the very bottom. This is about a girl who loves spy movies. Her and her BFF, they watch spy movies all the time. She somehow finds herself tangled up with a real life spy. And I know that there is a certain amount of suspended disbelief that you have to have when you're reading a romance book about a spy. Like, there's a certain amount of like, okay, we don't need to be realistic about this, but these people are in like their mid-20s to 30s and they're daydreaming about making out. How old are you? 15? You're daydreaming about making out? Grow up. Be so serious. You're not daydreaming about kissing him. In the book description, it said that this was brimming with chemistry, sizzling tension, and witty banter. Did I read a different book? There was some banter. There was a little bit of banter. The chemistry, girl, it's like you'd put two basics together. There was no reaction happening. We were at neutral levels of chemistry. It was just like two people that got along. These two people, they can get along with each other. They should be together. But it wasn't like tense, hot, spicy banter. No! These are two people that can hold a conversation. That should not be the bare... Two people holding a conversation should be the bare minimum. Whatever. But it really did lose me the most when they were daydreaming about making out. From both perspectives. Both perspectives were just daydreaming about making out. I gave this book, I think, 2 stars. Yeah, 2 stars. And that would be Spies Don't Fall for Their Asset by Meg Easton. After that, I read a silly little dirt bike. I read a silly little dirt bike romance because I've been needing it in my life. I had the chills thinking about it because in the last year, my husband and I have gotten really into Supercross, just period. We've gotten really into Supercross. We are loving watching it, motocross. We're really into the professional series of it. We're watching it every weekend. My husband has a dirt bike and he looks really nice on it. So I've been looking for a Supercross or motocross dirt bike romance, and they're few and far between, honestly. And when I saw this one on Prime Reading, because I don't have Kindle Unlimited, but there are certain books that are included in your Amazon Prime membership itself. This book, Burnout, is available for Prime Reading if you have Amazon Prime. And it follows a guy who is a motocross rider, not supercross rider, which this may mean not shit to you, and that's fine. He gets kicked off of his team that he signed to because him and one of his teammates get into a public fight, and it's him that starts it. It's he who starts it. And he's kind of like bad boy adjacent. bad boy of motocross. In order to build back his reputation, he starts doing freestyle dirt bike shows with a team, like some of his like old friends, in order to prove to all the people in motocross that he can work on a team and that he can be a good guy. And so to help him do his flips in the air, he has to work on his core. He has to work on lots of muscles that he did not use before in regular motocross. So he turns to no other than an Olympic gymnast. An Olympic gymnast who happens to be smoking hot, really great personality, and so attracted to him that it hurts her physically. Of course, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't that be the pairing together? And they're basically in a situationship this entire book, which kind of hurts me internally. Do not love a situationship. I gave it 4 stars ultimately because it was a fun romance. It was a solid, fun, silly sports romance. You don't have to know anything about dirt bikes or motocross to read it. And if you want to read a little dirt bike romance, you should. You should look up some pictures of some dirt bike riders. I'm pretty sure that this was like a fan fiction to Jet Lawrence almost, who is like one of the top dirt bike racers right now. I think that it was semi-inspired by him is what I would guess. And I can see it. Like, he's a cute kid. And I say kid because he's like 22 and I'm 27, like literally could be his grandmother. Anyways, I suggest Burnout by Rebecca Jenshak. The next book that I read, y'all fucking lied to me when you told me that this was a romance book. Look me in the eye and tell me that Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings is a romance book. Y'all are lying. I picked this up because I'm on my romance reading kick, as I said. This was not romantic. This was a freaking punch to the damn gut. We went back and forth. We love BJ. We hate BJ. We love BJ. We hate BJ. Actually, I hated BJ the whole time. Magnolia goes back and forth. I hate him. Can't stand his ass. Cannot stand BJ, hate him so much, cannot get over how much I hate him. So this book is about a girl who is super rich, all of her friends super rich, and she has been in this tumultuous relationship with the main male character BJ. This is dual POV. We see both Magnolia and BJ's POV, and so she's in love with BJ. They had a tumultuous relationship since the time they were like 13, and they're now like 22 and 23. So they've been going back and forth. They dated for a long time until about 3, I think, years ago. They got into a huge argument because he cheated on her. And it was horrible. They broke up, but they've kind of been in a situationship ever since. And throughout this entire book, it's just like so much back and forth. It is drama. Like, if you want to read literal drama, this is the book. I could see this being a TV show. I could see this being a movie. The whole book is like an ode to luxury items and luxury brands. You just have to look past it. A lot of these brands I've never heard of. A lot of these brands I don't care anything about. Like, she literally will look at someone and she's like, oh look, there's Jessica. She's wearing her 2017 Louis Vuitton fall couture drop number blah 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 with sequins. That whole sentence, girl, I just read one part of it. I go, there's Jessica and she's wearing a dress. Like, that's literally what I have to get out of it because I have no idea what she's talking about. But she has like a knack for knowing what everyone is wearing. That's like just part of her personality, and you have to look past that. And it is a love triangle for this book, and I really did like it. And I'm going to read the next book. I'll probably read the whole series, honestly, because it's just something that's keeping me fed. Like, something is always happening. Every chapter there is a new event. Every chapter there is like something where it leaves off and you go, I have to know what happens next. So I really did enjoy Magnolia Parks. I hate the relationship between her and BJ. I gave it 4.5 stars rounded up, and I said, y'all lied to me when you said this was a romance. It is devastating, and I need to find the rest of the series at a library near me. I did check my library near me, and the entire series is checked out. So good luck to the person who has all 5 of these books checked out and the emotional roller coaster that you're definitely going on, because yesterday when I was reading this, I was high, low, high, low, high, low. Like, right when I thought, oh, we're coming to a resolution, thank God I can see the light, then like the worst thing that's ever happened in the book. So it just, like, the way that Jessa Hastings writes is crazy because it's so beautiful and so well written and really speaks so true, like puts my thoughts into words in terms of like fears, and also like the way that she describes people loving each other is so beautiful. But then she writes like the most god awful thing that's ever happened. Like, just the worst, not like worst, like she's bad at it, but like the worst thing that could happen to a character. The most devastating thing that could happen to a character. She writes it like the next sentence after she just wrote this beautiful like Shakespearean sonnet about how being in love feels and how feeling heartbreak feels. It's crazy and out of this world. So Jessa Hastings, you are a genius, I think. And I really loved Magnolia Parks. The last book, I finished it strong with a non-romance, a horror book, which will be surprising to some, considering that I hate horror and I get nightmares. This one, though, was more of a lighthearted horror book, if that can be called that. It was Victorian Psycho by Virginia Feito. I think that this book comes out next month, or in February actually. I know what compelled me to read it. It was the cover and the title, because Victorian Psycho just sounds so fun, and the title is like kind of camp, like it's cool. And the description says that this is a riveting tale of a bloodthirsty governess who learns the true meaning of vengeance. This takes place in England, and it is about a girl who is she takes over as governess, so basically like head nanny of this English estate that has 2 kids, and there's like a bunch of other people in the household, and she's just crazy unhinged out of her freaking mind. This belongs on one of those book tables that they have at like Barnes & Noble that is like feminine rage. This is her, except she's demonically possessed, but you're inside of the mind of the person who's doing these crazy things. Like, I don't even know how to describe to you. She just like makes the most insane choices. Like, she has fantasies and vivid like daydreaming about killing everybody, and you learn at the beginning of the book, it literally says like, oh, what a lovely house, what a lovely group of people, too bad they'll all be dead by Christmas. So you know what's gonna happen because it is a horror book, and it's just kind of slowly and eerily builds up to Christmas Day, and then on Christmas Day insanity ensues. So if you don't like reading about someone who's out of their absolute mind, just actually a Victorian psycho, it is the most true title that I've ever heard, and it is full of vengeance. Like, there's a reasoning behind these choices that the main character makes, but you don't come to know that until the end, and I will not tell you that because it was really interesting. I think at this point I have not rated it because I actually finished it just recently when I got home, so I haven't rated it yet. I think I'll give it like a 3.5. It was really entertaining, wildly entertaining, I will say, and I would recommend it if you like horror. So those are the books that I read in January. I will tell you my high and my low. My highest book, the best book I read this month, Babylonia by Costanza Casati. The worst book I read this month was the gypsy-rose blanchard one. Hated it. Anyways, friends, that's all I have for. Do not start fighting right now when I'm doing my outro. If you've read any of these books or you're looking forward to reading any of them, please let me know in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I have officially reached 100 subscribers. That's craziness. Thank y'all. Thank you for being here. Read more books. I love you guys. Bye.